Hey, what's going on guys? It's Mark back in the workshop on Mark's Aquatics. Right, on this little video what we're going to be doing is breeding gouramis. Now, I bred these fish many years ago, different varieties of them, and we're going to shoot up to my local fish shop in a minute and we're just going to have a look around what's in there. Okay, you've got all the dwarf gouramis, you've got the bigger ones, the pearls, the blue gouramis, the gold gouramis, all these different types we get. But we're going to go and have a look and see what size they've got up there, because obviously some of these are they can grow quite big, or they need to be a certain size before they can breed. We're just going to see what they've got, because obviously a lot of pet shops, when they get their stock in, it's young, because people don't want to be buying fish that are getting on in age, and they'll think, now I'm not going to spend all that money on something that's going to live for 6 months or whatever, and then we're going to lose it. So they tend to get in a lot of small fish, so people can buy them as young and then watch them grow up. So what we're going to do, we're going to shoot up there. One of my local shops, which I normally go to, he's never as busy as the other guys, but the good reason is for going to them is that the fish are there for longer. So sometimes they get bigger in the shop. Some of these higher turnover shops tend to be you end up with a little bit more, few more problems in them and stuff like that, and stocks changing all the time very fast, so they tend to get the smaller ones in, like I just said. But this is an amazing little shop, and it's a little gem in my eyes, because you can go up there. It's the Big Blue up in just outside Caerphilly, and when I go there, there's always a great range of fish there, but he's also got a lot of good stuff in there which is of a breeding age, so you can really pick and choose what you want, and you're going to get something that's going to breed for you a lot quicker than if you have to bring something on from a little baby and bring it up, obviously, and then pair them off. So we're going to shoot up there and have a little look around the tanks and see what they've got. So what we've got now with this little tank is for breeding gouramis. I'll just take you through it. Now, if you look at the tank head on there, we've got a sponge filter which is just on its side. I've angled it to the side like that, and I've faced the bubble flow and the flow towards the back of the tank, if you notice there. And what that's doing, that is really dulling down that flow, okay, because these little guys, where they're from, Thailand, Malaysia, places like that, they live in these little pools, and obviously they're labyrinth fish, so they're breeding and breathing on the surface, very, very still water. So we need to have it very still for them, otherwise their little bubble nests that they create, okay, are going to get disturbed and broken up, and we don't want that. So what I've put in there is some floating rickia, okay. They'll blow their bubbles up into that. Maybe some species like the dwarf gouramis will actually make a raft using plant debris on the surface, and rickia is the best for it, because they'll take little bits. I've got some footage of some dwarf gouramis which I was bringing on, and I put them in this tank probably about, I don't know, maybe a week, 2 weeks ago, and I tried them, but they weren't really pairing up, and I wasn't 100% sure that the female was ready, and he kept pushing her away, and I was away for a weekend, and it didn't go right. So I'll show you the footage of him actually building the bubble nest. It's a very fascinating little thing to watch, gulping the air and making the bubbles. Right guys, we're up at Big Blue. Here's Yorin. How's it going, mate? Hey, there he is. He's on film. Didn't like that, did you? Let's have a look at some of these fish. We've got some lovely gouramis up here. Where are they? Where are they? Ah, here's some. Now look at these guys. These are pearl gouramis. Absolutely stunning. You can see the males. They've got longer fins, like most gouramis. Like that gold gourami there, I've got my eye on him straight away. Look, because he's in a tank on his own for a start, and he's got a lovely big pointy dorsal fin, which tells me that he is a male. And that one right next to him is a younger female. And the pearl gouramis at the back, exactly the same thing. That rounded dorsal fin and the more pointy dorsal fin for the male. There's a male and female there. That just slightly different. We've got some other guys up here. We've got some blue gouramis as well, some ruby sharks. Here we go. That's the price of them guys. Got some nice specimens in amongst there as well. These are just a variation. The blue spots, the golds, they're just variations of inbreeding and getting those different colours out. But there's some nice fish in amongst those as well, but we're not going to go for the blues. I'll tell you one good trick, okay guys, if you've ever got hydra in your aquariums, gouramis eat hydra, okay? Obviously don't put them in a shrimp tank if you've got a shrimp tank, because they'll eat your shrimps as well. But if you've got a tank and it's plagued with hydra, put a blue gourami in there, or another favourite is the pearl gourami, and they absolutely love to eat hydra, and they will clean every single one out. So if you know a friend who's got one, and he'll loan you it for a week or so, put him in your tank and he'll clean them out, every single one of them. So there you go. So I've got my eye on that gold male there, and up here in this other tank with more ruby sharks, we've got some other chunky little females in there as well. Now you see that female there, she's quite blown up with eggs as well, because they're feeding them heavily in the shops. So I think I'm going to pick one of them, but there is actually one here all on her own, and she's dying to get in with the other ones. Now she's quite full up with eggs as well, as you can see. Big fat belly on her, that little rounded fin, not the big long fin like the males, which you can't. So I think if I get her and pair her up with this gentleman here, I think we'll have a really good pairing. There is that little one in there as well, her, but I don't think he's got too much interest in her, because they're not going to breed until they get to about 3 inches, gouramis. Not the larger varieties anyway. And he is, well, that easily. He's easy 4. And she's of a good size as well. I'll have another look around. I don't think we've got any healthier ones. Everything's looking healthy. Obviously I'm sticking a camera in their face, so they're a little bit twitchy about that. But that's quite a nice big one up on the surface there, right by that inlet from the pump. But I've still got my eye on this girl here, so I think what we're going to do is we're going to grab these two, I think. Yeah, in this tank we've got some snakeskin gouramis in there. Look at those. Pretty fish. And next door we got some orange thick lip gouramis. And across this way a little bit more, we've got some thick lip gouramis in amongst some cherry barbs there. Look at those. All lovely healthy fish. Like I said guys, this is a super little shop if you want to come up here and pick up breeding size fish, because as you can see, everything is of a lovely size, super conditioned, and they're near enough ready to rock and roll. A lot of these fish, you put them in a tank, especially ones that have been split up like that guy there and her over there, and we should get some action fairly quickly once they are conditioned, of course. So we've got to buy some bloodworm and things while we're here as well, or glassworms, whatever they've got in the fridge, and we can fatten these little guys up. Anyway, I'm going to buy these guys and I'll see you back in the workshop. Right guys, we're back in the workshop. That was a nice bit of fun up there, seeing the guys. Now I've got these two beautiful gouramis here in the bag, which I will carefully put in front of the screen. Look at those two there, look, little lovebirds hopefully. And I thought I'd take you through everything with this little breeding video from me collecting them in a bag. I know what some of you are going to say, I'm just waiting for them to spawn. I don't think these are going to build a bubble nest and spawn in this bag, but it'd be absolutely the first ever. As says that, he starts blowing air bubbles at the surface. Look. Because they're labyrinth fish, obviously, member of the labyrinth family, they breathe from the surface of the water, so that's why they make these little bubble nests. So what I'm going to do now is cut this bag, and I'm just going to empty. I've got a bucket next to me. I'm just going to empty the majority of the water into it. We can put them into the water fold that bag over, and they will settle down in a second. Obviously they're going to be trying to get through the bag to get into the plants and try and hide away, but they're going to settle down in a minute. Obviously they can breathe from the surface of the water. The bag's nice and open. And then what I do is I'll just grab a small little cup, and I'll just add some of the tank water. Doesn't matter if a little bit of Rickia goes in there. Little cup of water, and leave that in there now for about 15 minutes. And I'll put that in probably about three or four times. And now I'm going to turn the light off, and that will calm them down. And then I'll add the water again. So when you see them next, that would have all been done. Okay, they'll be acclimated, and we can put them in. Right guys, they are now into the tank. That Rickia on the surface is just moving around, and what they'll do is when they settle down, you may start moving that around, making a bubble nest in a few days time. They're obviously a little bit scatty because they've just come from a shop. Now they're into a tank. It's darker in there. I've just put the lights up again, so it's going to take them a little bit of time to settle in again. Okay, but they won't take long. And what I did buy when I was at the shop as well, because they'd never had any glassworm, so sorry, they did have glassworm, but they didn't have any bloodworm. These are glassworms, very transparent apart from a little gut section in there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some of those in there. Now that's going to help these little guys to chill out. Just take the lid off of that and pour them in there, and then I'll turkey baste some of those guys in. Right, just going to drop a few of those little chaps in on the side. They probably won't go for them straight away, but you'll see them go in. There's a load of them in there, and what they're going to do is obviously they're going to stay alive in there now. And it won't be long before they settle down, see there's lots of live food in the water, and start chewing away on some of those little guys. Right, okay guys, what I've done is I've done a couple of alterations in this tank, because these were a little bit bigger than I thought. Now I've moved things around. Now where I had the sponge filter at the back on that diagonal angle there, I've put it in the corner, and I've dug down into the substrate, and I've buried the bottom of the sponge filter down right to the bottom, and I've pushed the sand in around it. Now that's not going to make any difference. It will still suck those, it will suck all that debris through still, and still keep that water nicely filtered. But it's just keeping that top right below the water. And I've put a nice big swordtail there, nice big sword plant there, right in the middle. Sorry, right on the side, away from them, and I've given them surface space because they're labyrinth fish. They like to breathe from the surface, and it gives them a nice little area to go up and to do that. And they're quite secretive fish as well, gouramis. They're very easily spooked. These still haven't settled down. You can see she's going up inside the glass on the side there, and still hasn't quite settled in yet. I've put some of the brine shrimp adults in there, which I bought from the shop in little bags, those little blister bags you buy with water in full of them. And we've just put a few of those in there, and I've just been putting a few in there, over the last sort of couple of hours that I've changed this around. Now he's settling in a little bit more. They're still forming territories. He's going to form his territory, then hopefully when he does form a territory, he'll build that bubble nest that they're famous for, and then he'll start doing his little courtship, luring her in underneath it, where they'll spawn. Okay, so that's the plan. And the lovely thing about these guys is their eggs are actually lighter than the water. So what happens is the male wraps around the female just like a betta. Okay, they come together. He will lightly squeeze her sides. They'll spin upside down, and then she will release the eggs. He will slowly squeeze her. She will release the eggs. He releases the milk at the same time, and the eggs then will float. They don't sink like betta eggs. gourami eggs will float, and so they will go directly underneath the bubble nest. That light squeeze, release of that milk, and they'll float up, mix together, fertilise as they go up, and then they'll go up under and stick underneath the bubble nest. And just like it's a viscous layer, bubbles, things stick to them. So as soon as something touches a bubble, as you know, if you've seen things stick to bubbles, it's because it's got that film, and they will literally stick to under the side, and then they'll go up, lay a few more bubbles, blow a few more bubbles around, and encase them in bubbles until they hatch a couple of days later. So hopefully that's going to all take place in the next few days. I'm going to keep my eye on these guys, let them settle in. It's still the same day. I've just been watching them for the last couple of hours, and they've been, I just thought they needed a little bit more cover, and obviously the tank sides are blacked out as well, but a little bit of cover, that live food in there. Come first thing in the morning, it should be another story, and they should have calmed down a little bit, hopefully, for the next couple of days, and they'll settle into their new home, and then hopefully they'll start breeding. Right, okay guys, it's day 2, and you can see now the male has already started blowing bubbles on the surface. She's hiding up on the right hand side there, she's just coming out. She's been a little bit boisterous with her, just territory and stuff like that. And he's a little bit fired up this morning. It's been about 2 hours into the light. Now what I've done is, you can see as well, I've added a sponge filter on the back, but this is not one that's being used. What I've done is I've put it on top of the sponge filter below, and I've pushed that outlet onto the actual sponge filter itself. Okay, so now that is dampening down everything and making minimal disturbance on the water surface, because we don't want those bubbles to pop. And another thing with labyrinth fish, guys, as well, that humidity needs to be nice inside the tank. Okay, so I've got glass lids on top of this. You can use cling film and put some small holes in, or if you're in the States, I think you guys call it saran wrap or something, you can put that on the surface. Now that will create that humidity in there and stop those bubbles from popping. Okay, because where they're from, obviously it's very humid and the bubbles tend to stay on the surface more. So if you haven't got that, you're going to find that the bubbles can sometimes pop. Okay, now he's using a bit of that rick here, firing some bubbles in amongst that. I've got to stay very, very still, because these fish are super intelligent and they know what's going on outside the tank, and that's why he's being a little bit boisterous, because he knows I'm here. Hopefully you'll take a few gulps of air from the surface and you'll see him release those bubbles up into the top. But once they start going, they can make a nest quite quickly, and they make quite a big nest. You can see he's starting to court her already. She's quite full up. I've been feeding them a lot of live food since yesterday, but she was quite full up with eggs, as you can see anyway. He's nibbling away at her, being a little bit of a nuisance. She's not ready as yet. I think he should spend more time building his nest than trying to court her at the moment. But you'll see as soon as they're into condition, because their colours will pop. You can see the males there, those beautiful spots, that orange gold colour will really, really shine out, and they'll get that lovely blue tinge across the bottom of the anal fin there, and those lovely blue spots in amongst the fins on the males. She's got that plant in there, and that's imperative as well. You've got to get that plant in there, somewhere for them to retreat if they feel a bit stressed, because they need to, otherwise they'll just chase. And as you can see now, he's still worrying about me being here. So I think what I might do is I'm just going to actually lower myself down on the floor and get out the way, and he may carry on building that bubble nest. Well, you know, you see a lot of books and things. I read so much, I see people all over the internet which are explaining how these things breed, but this is, with my series, I'm really trying to put everything in one little package for you, okay, so you can understand. And when you see your fish doing these things, you'll understand by watching these videos, think, oh yeah, watch Mark's video, this is how the eggs float up, this is how the bubble nest is made, and everything is in video footage for you instead of books, pictures, and people just telling you how they breed from books, which is fine, but I'm just trying to make it a little bit more easier for you guys to understand, and hopefully I'm doing a good job of that, and you guys are having some success as well. Look at her, she's just hiding by that little sponge filter there. But what I'm going to do is now, I've showed you a little bit of footage with them from this angle. I'm going to try and get the camera down lower now and angle the camera up, okay? So if we do see any spawning action later on, I'll have the camera already set up, ready plugged in, and we can get some of that better footage for you from another angle, okay? Yeah, this is a really special time, this is, guys, when you're watching the bubble nest being formed. And he goes up to the surface, takes those massive big gulps of air and squirts out all those tiny little bubbles, which then float up to the surface, stick to that surface film and that rickia as well. And he goes back in there, look, has a little quick chat up the girlfriend again, a little bit of displaying. Waving his fins backwards and forwards. Trying to couple with her there actually. But he's going to try and lead her out underneath that bubble nest if he can. Now, you've got to bear in mind also that these fish have probably never bred either. So this is their first go. So sometimes they're going to get it wrong. Sometimes all goes well. So this might be the first of maybe 3 or 4 bubble nests that he's going to make. Hopefully for you guys, it'll all work out. Right, okay guys, it's been about 4 days now since they've laid the eggs, and as you can see now we've got lots of little fry hopping around in the tank, and now's the time we've got to be starting to feed that infusoria. Or you can use liquid fry foods, but I don't find them as effective as the infusoria, that micro life, which I've always harp on about. It's so important for your fry. It's live food, it moves, and that's what attracts them to it, to eat it. And they'll put on weight a lot quicker than these other foods like egg yolks and different things like that, you know, you can use, but they do pollute the water up and you'll lose a lot of fry that way. But this is the way I do it, and I've had great success throughout my career in keeping fish, and I'm just trying to pass on good knowledge. You may notice a few things appeared and disappeared out of this tank while I was doing the filming. He was being a little bit, sometimes you'll get a gourami that's super aggressive, males, and even though they want to breed, they'll still attack, protect that territory that they're in. Even when a good looking girl comes past, they can be quite vicious, some of them. So and I found he was getting that way. So what I was doing was putting extra plants in and putting different things, surface plants in, bigger clumps of moss, rickia on the surface, just so we could sort of cut that aggression down and move things around, give her places to hide when she needed to hide. Right guys, a few little bullet points if you want to breed these gold gouramis, okay? You want to tend to about 20 gallon tank. Put about 6 inches of water in there, cycled sponge filter, temperature range around 80 Fahrenheit, 26 centigrade, pH between 6.5 and 7.5, you'll be fine. They're not great, you don't worry too much about the pH, but that's a good range to 6.5 to 7.5. Okay, and then leave them go. Feed them up heavily for about a week on live foods, and then introduce them to the tank if you've got them in your main aquarium, and that's the best place to condition them up. Or you can go and get some from your local fish shop like I did. Anyway guys, I hope you liked that little breeding gourami video. As always, you're all stars. Love you loads. If you like the old videos, chuck me a thumbs up if you would. I would appreciate it. Spread it around, spread the word, and look after yourselves, and I'll see you on the next edition of Mark's Aquatics. Take care and bye for now.
Just me and my guitar.